And I gotta tell you a funny story. You guys know who Steve Mnuchin is? You might remember Steve Mnuchin?
The labor secretary.
Yeah, I think he's finance. What is he? He's the Trump's. He's the financial guy anyway in the White House. Well, Steve Mnuchin's parents were collectors, and they had a lot of different artists from many different eras in their house uptown. So on the higher floors, they had the abstract expressionists. In the middle floors, they had the pop artists. And David got commissioned to do an installation in their basement. And this is part of the installation. This was recreated at the Whitney Museum in 2018 when they had a retrospective of his work. But what's not included here are the other artifacts that he placed into this installation in the basement of the Mnuchin's house. And partly because he was upset that he didn't get put on the second floor or the third floor, and partly just to make fun of their collectors' ethics or the lack of ethics. And he put a lot of trash from the East Village and garbage under these paintings that were part of that installation. So Steve Mnuchin grew up with that in his basement. I don't think it lasted for more than a week or two, but it sort of established David as a subversive artist. He'd already gotten that kind of reputation for two things he did. I told you about PS1 being one of the art spaces that was opened, and PS1 was one of the first places that artists from the East Village were introduced to the larger world. And David was not included in this one show called New York New Wave that was at PS1 in 1980. So instead of not being allowed to be in that show, he devised a way to be in the show. And it's called Cockabunnies. And what he did was, and Carly McCormick, this critic, explained this to me in detail. He froze cockroaches, but not cockroaches. You can freeze a cockroach and it survives if you don't freeze it for too long. He froze the cockroaches long enough to place little bunny's ears on their antenna, and then he would put them in a box and they would wake up, and he released them at PS1 at that show, so he was included in that show. He had also done something similar. He and one of his band members for Three Teens Kill Four, they collected a bunch of meat and bones and rolled them up in plastic and threw them on the steps at Leo Castelli's gallery. Leo Castelli was the biggest gallery in the Soho area. He represented Warhol, he represented Rauschenberg, all the big names from the 50s and 60s, and some of the people that were at Black Mountain College. So David was known for being subversive before he ever got to show his work. So I thought I'd stop that and show you that. This is another part of that installation. Once again, this is the sanitized version that was at the Whitney Museum's retrospective of David in 2018.